as we said earlier, lead-contaminated soil can be quite a risk to children if they come into direct contact with it. They can also take it into the house on their shoes, and the family pets can be a source to take the potentially contaminated soil inside. What we need to do outside is create a barrier. That's what Simon is doing here. I quite like what you've done with the colours.
Oh, isn't it great? Yeah, it's taken a little while with Rebecca's help. But yes, we're going to use these rubber mats. They're quite colourful.
And they just piece together like a jigsaw, yeah?
Yep, just clip in like that, they do.
Excellent. So had you guys discussed any other options for out here?
We had. We've talked about pavers, which are going to be too hard if the kids fall over.
Sure.
Turf, but we've got a tree there, so there's too much shade that the grass won't actually grow quite properly.
Yeah. And this, of course, is going to cover a nice wide area for Rebecca so that she doesn't get her hands into the soil.
It is, it is. The thing is too, this originally was sitting up on pallets.
Okay.
And they got very old, so we removed them. And as you can see, we've got bare soil.
Sure.
So we needed some sort of barrier.
Yeah, cover this right up.
Yeah, and we decided that this was the best one to go with because it was nice and soft.
Looks good. She looks pretty happy.
She is. She loves playing with it.
How about we go and check out that vegetable garden now?
Certainly.
When the level's level, you look at that there. Is it level? We're going to make it level.
As I told you earlier, we were going to have quite a few experts in on this project, and I've got one right here with me. This is Gary. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
Now, you are Simon's dad and grandfather to Rebecca.
That's correct, yes.
And I know Rebecca's a hard little worker, but what about Simon?
He's a jolly good worker.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
He's put in a lot of hard effort
Yes,
today.
yes.
Now, Simon, as we were actually looking at earlier, there were paint flakes in your garden bed, which was right near your exterior back wall.
Yep.
This garden bed here, nowhere near a wall, but the soil can still be contaminated?
It certainly can, for the particular fact that we live fairly close to a lead smelter.
Right.
And they use the slag from that smelter in a lot of these properties to fill the land.
Wow, so even though it was quite some time ago, it can still be affected?
Of course,
Yeah.
there's no education on in those days either.
Yeah.
But when we get the northerly winds blowing, we get a fair bit of lead dust comes over this way,
Right.
which also gets into the soil.
So what you can do to help though is raise the garden bed, which is what you've already done here, and you're going to put in a whole tray full of fresh soil, yeah?
Exactly. That way the plants can get into some fresh stuff. They won't be taking the lead up into the fruit and the
Yeah.
veggies.
And what kind of vegetables are we looking at?
Some cabbage, tomatoes. We love our tomatoes.
Yeah.
With the veggie patch, it's very important if there's lead in the soil, such as in an old industrial area, if there's slag around it, or just long-term lead falling out of the sky from the smokestacks, is that we have to assume it's got lead in it until we test it and prove that it hasn't. If we have to work with the lead in the soil, then in terms of vegetables, it's important to bring new soil in, build up the base of the veggie patch. When we take the vegetables out of the patch, we clean them, wash them in running water to remove lead from the leafy vegetables. And we make sure we remove potentially leaded soil around the base of the root vegetables like carrots.
In some situations, you will need to remove contaminated soil from your backyard. Slag is a particularly toxic lead byproduct and should also be disposed of carefully. Contact your local council for more information. There are a few options when creating a barrier against exposed dirt. You can promote grass growth by laying fresh topsoil, or you can cover the offending areas with a range of materials, including turf, pavers, chip bark and outdoor matting. If you have a veggie patch and garden beds, you can cover the soil with compost and mulches. They'll actually help the nutrient levels in the garden. But if you live near a smelter or, say, a busy street, don't use the lawn clippings. They'll have a lot of lead dust in them. When it comes to the family pet, they will have the most contact with the soil in the yard. So you need to prevent them bringing lead dust into the house by either keeping them outside or fencing off your gardens. If you are concerned about the soil on your land, you really should have it tested.